There's always some manager under pressure, says Postecoglou. In reality, how much pressure are these two managers on, given that they've got 7 points from 15 on offer at the start of the season?
I feel sorry for Postecoglou because I do think there are moments where I've seen Spurs play and I think, they're brilliant to watch. And I think with what they've got, Brennan Johnson now, three consecutive games, goals in each one. And I think you're starting to see Solanke score, everything's coming together. Sometimes they've had the better of it, but not always been efficient up front. And you sort of feel for him at that moment. I think it's a little bit different for Ten Hag because obviously expectations on Manchester United are going to be somewhat different. And there is this thing where you've spent so much money, so have Spurs, to be honest with you, but you think that it's just not right in midfield. It's not working. Now they seem to have a little bit more possession. They're playing with Eriksen, and you're seeing them having a lot more players on the ball, capable on the ball. But as soon as against Crystal Palace, that they took a few of those players off, Ahmad, for example, Eriksen, and they started to lose that control over the ball, which allowed Crystal Palace to come back in. So how do you find that right balance? And honestly, I think Ten Hag needs to win this more.
Yeah, let's talk about that Crystal Palace game that you referenced, because United just couldn't find a way through. A goalless draw in that game. A game that Marcus Rashford didn't start, which I don't know if that surprised you, because he'd scored in the league game before, he'd scored in the cup in midweek, and when you're a goal scorer, it's all about confidence, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And there's an element of that game that did surprise me, because obviously being a forward, you're based more around confidence, right? So if you've scored in two consecutive games, I would expect to start again. But I think, and I feel like there's definitely another issue going on behind the scenes. I'm not sure between Ten Hag and between Marcus Rashford. I like what I've seen from Marcus in the last 2 games or so. He looks like he's getting back to his best, where he's drawing the defenders out. He's a bit more aggressive when he's on the ball. He's definitely more focused in attacking defenders, attacking the spaces in behind. He's running at full speed, full pace. We saw a lovely move in midweek where he picked the ball up by the touchline, little flip-flap with the outside of his foot to the inside, nutmegged the defender.
Beautiful.
But it was fantastic.
Yeah.
But this is the Marcus Rashford we want to see. So you could tell the confidence is coming back. And whether that's an element of him saying, do you know what, I don't care about all the external noise from the fan base, I don't care about what the manager says, I don't care about anything else that anybody else says, I'm just playing my game. I'm just going to be Marcus Rashford, which is what we as football fans want to see. We want to see him become the Marcus we know he's been, where he scored 20-plus goals in a season. He's capable of it. It's just about a matter of having that self-belief and putting to bed all of the things that go on off the football pitch. And I don't mean the charity stuff, the charity work. I think that stuff is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's more of the party lifestyle that he seems to have adapted. People tend to push that narrative on him. And I'm not sure it works for him.
I want to look at the chances that United have created and then missed subsequently. We've put a little package together of this because I think they do need someone to finish for them. You have an interesting thought, Mina, about how they should be playing. Oh, would you have? Thank you.
I was wondering how often you will look at a match and be like, I could have done that.
Yeah. But you have an interesting idea about how they should set up?
Well, I think my interest is that Joshua Zirkzee comes from the Italian league, and I think there's a lot of conversations on what his best role is, because he's a 9.5. He's not your clinical striker, but he is somebody who can help create and develop play, and he's so good at that because he's such a lovely player, such great technique, and I'd love to see him honestly just behind Højlund.
As a 10.
Yes, exactly as that, as a 10, and you can have your 2 wingers, and I do think that means there's not space for Bruno Fernandes, which is a very controversial thing to say when you're talking about Manchester United. How on earth would you drop Bruno Fernandes? But I think that it's worth having an experiment at some point where you do put Højlund, who is a typical number 9, with Zirkzee, have him develop play, because he's really good on the ball. What you get with Bruno Fernandes a lot of the time as well is that he's somebody that can add goals to your scoreboard. But I do think there are times where he takes a few risks, and that means that you lose possession, you start a counter-attack, and it can be a little bit dangerous for Manchester United. We've seen that happen with them. Whereas I think if you want to have a bit more control, let's try Zirkzee in that role and see how it goes, because I think that would work quite well. But of course, experiments are quite hard to do in certain matches, and probably not against Spurs.
Yeah, because what do Spurs offer? They have a goal scorer that brought in this season. I know that there's concern about Son and him possibly being injured and missing out on this one. But Solanke's on the score sheet now.
Yeah, and he's doing exactly what he was brought in for. You know, I'm a huge admirer of his. I thought at Bournemouth he was fantastic. Obviously, he's in a team that didn't play brilliant football, but he always found himself in the right areas, creating opportunities and finishing them off. He's starting to find his feet now at Spurs. He had a little bit of a shaky start, obviously 1 or 2 injuries kind of got in the way of playing regularly. Brennan Johnson as well. They're starting to understand each other's games. They understand the strengths, the weaknesses. They're quick on the counter-attack. Maddison, creative, great finisher as well. And the more Spurs go on this season, I feel like the better they will get, because these young players, and they are young players, will understand each other's games far better than they have done in previous seasons. Ange's under pressure a little bit. I think it's a little bit unfair.
I think
Not
so.
a lot of pressure, but I think it's enough that he will take this game very, very seriously. He won't want to respect Manchester United too much. He will still want to take control of the game and really put them under pressure and really go at them. And I do genuinely feel like they will have enough to get over that line, to get the 3 points.
It's that midfield. You look at that midfield and you think, you know, it's well balanced. It can be defensive, it's physical, it's dynamic, and it's creative with Maddison. And you always feel with Maddison, like if he's on it, which he is now, because you don't know whether towards the end of the season
Well, with
he
the
might,
injuries to one side.
But while he is at his best, just let him have it, like let him produce all the creativity that he can and just shoulder him with these great midfield. I think that midfield is something that they can really dominate, and then it'll be interesting to see how United can counter that.
A game that catches the eye, no doubt about it, is Old Trafford. Manchester United taking on Spurs.
A lot of 2-1s.
A lot of 2-1s. Me and Robbo going for United 2-1. Frank is going for a draw with Seb. Craig, Stevie, Shaka all going for a Spurs 2-1. Yep. The reason I've gone for United because it's Spurs. They're going to have chances, they're going to be great, and then something will happen.
There's no rhyme or reason to watching Man United recently.
Yes.
And then logically thinking, unless there's an amazing turnaround in performance. You think about that FC20 game in particular, where they just got opened up for fun in the end. There's no rhyme or reason to recent, but Crystal Palace away, there was the win away at Southampton, but you kind of can write that one off. The only way I can see anything coming United's way, if we see the Tottenham side that went to Leicester in match day 1 and created about 15 or 20 chances and barely hit the target with any of them.
Yeah.
If that's the case, they're going to allow United a sniff of a counter-attack break and a ball over the top. With Tottenham playing so high up, pushing the fullbacks on. If Tottenham are clinical, which clearly they're not always, then I think they're just going to outplay this United side. I mean, how are United going to dominate the midfield? How are they going to get who in there is going to dominate the ball?
They're not. Spurs are too sharp.
You got 2-1 as well, yeah? You've gone for the same. You've gone for the draw, Frank.
Yeah, I went for the draw because we are so uncertain about these two teams. And I saw Manchester United play against 20, and it's so far away from what I know about Manchester United. And I think everybody got carried away by that win in the FA Cup final. Otherwise, Ten Hag wouldn't be the coach still. So, and for Tottenham, we don't know what we can get. Yeah, they're going to be at some point, as you alluded, very effective, and suddenly they're going to lose it. So a draw, it's for me only fair.
All right, let's take a look at the top half of the Premier League table, which is interesting because our supposed match of the week features the team that's in 10th against a team that's not even in the top half of the Premier League table. That, of course, is Manchester United, who are hosting Spurs on Sunday at Old Trafford. Here's a look at the odds. Manchester United, slight favorites at home, despite their disappointing draw against FC Twente on a Wednesday. Of course, Spurs against Karabakh, slightly more successful in their dominant performance in the Europa League, though some concerns there with Heung-min Son limping off. Here's some of the predictions for Sunday's game. Again, Manchester United at home. Robbo's got United winning 2-1. Frank and I have gone for a draw, and Shaka Hislop is a man out on an island picking Spurs to win by a final of 2-1. Frank, you've gone with a 1-1 draw here. Why? Is it just because you don't have any faith in either of these two teams and you can't pick a winner? Because that's why I picked the draw.
That's mostly what it is. It's true because, as you said, you know, in the rank, one is 10 and the other one is 11th, and that's hard to find, you know, any satisfaction from those two clubs. I saw Manchester United playing against 20 in midweek, and that wasn't appalling, but we weren't that far away from that. So there are some absences. It's not Manchester United that I've known and I've played against, and the spirit of the club is not there anymore, and it's been a while like that. And what I see on the field is not what I want to see, and there is no optimism whatsoever from me to see Manchester United getting better very soon. For Tottenham, we don't know what to expect. We saw a big change of plans and tactics from Postecoglou last season, and it worked pretty well, you know, even if at some point they struggle. But there are some ups and downs, and it's also very hard to predict anything coming good from them because you don't know what the kind of mood they're going to be in. So it's why I go for a draw, because it's only fair for those two clubs, because being sure that one of those can win, good luck Robbo, good luck Xhaka, I cannot choose.
Robbo, you've picked Manchester United. I wonder why, and what do you think will happen with Marcus Rashford? Because obviously he didn't get the start last week in the scoreless draw against Crystal Palace.
Well, I saw both teams play last week, Manchester United at Crystal Palace, and actually played quite well. They dominated the game. They created lots of chances. They should have scored and should have won the game. And it was quite a good performance. And I like what I was seeing in terms of their build-up play. They created chances. Bruno Fernandes should have scored. The one area that I still think they've got a problem, that's where Rashford might come in. He might come in and play at centre-forward. Zirkzee, I still don't think can link up the play particularly well. He's not quite good enough to play in a top-level side in the Premier League. So maybe Rashford comes into that team. Or Garnacho plays up front and Rashford goes into the wide areas. When Manchester United play at their best, they play quick football. Garnacho making runs, Rashford making runs, Giallo making runs when they win the ball back from deep areas. We saw that in the cup final. And the way that Spurs play, a very high line, they like to dominate possession and they leave themselves slightly exposed. That's why I think Manchester United could win the game, because they'll have people running in behind, the likes of Romero. Udogie will be high up the field at times. Porro will be high up the field at times. The only one that saves their high offside line for Spurs is Van der Ven, who's very, very quick. And it's also important that the two midfield players who play for Spurs have to do a very good defensive job. If they don't do that, then I think Manchester United will win the game. But Rashford could be an important player in this match.
Is Erik ten Hag getting it right with Rashford?
I'm not sure he's getting a lot right. I'll be honest with you. Listen, my concern with Manchester United is Erik ten Hag, and I just start to wonder again after criticising the team with post that the 20 draw and certainly the effort of them. I'm just becoming more and more convinced that he's lost his dressing room. That players are I'm sure they have been questioning him for quite some time and have just totally lost faith with him. I think you counter that with Postecoglou, and while he still has some figuring out to do himself, I feel that the players are still wholly behind their manager. And so for me, Spurs are trending in the right direction, only just, while Manchester United are trailing similarly just in the wrong direction.
Looking at the schedule here upcoming for Manchester United, you got Spurs, then you're away at Porto in Europa League, and then you're away to Villa, a game you told me before the game you thought Manchester United would be an underdog in that game. You didn't think that they would be the favorites. Frank, I'm looking at this run-in before the international break. Could we see even more pressure, if that's possible, on Erik ten Hag come that first week of October with this schedule?
Well, I really think that if he doesn't get any points, and it's possible from there, or even if he wins against Spurs but loses at Porto and against Aston Villa, just before the break, international break, I think we could say goodbye to ten Hag. It could be the opportunity for the board to pick somebody else and to recognize that they were wrong, to keep him because they won the FA Cup. So it doesn't work. I don't think it's gonna work, and maybe it will be the time and the opportunity to make a change. They might already think about it and anticipate it. But yeah, if they don't have a good result, meaning winning against Spurs, drawing against Porto and maybe drawing against Aston Villa, I don't see how Ten Hag can survive.
Robbo, how likely do you think that over the next 3 games Manchester United gets through unscathed? And if they don't, do you think it costs Ten Hag his job?
Well, I've just said that they're going to beat Tottenham, so that would be that would be 3 points that gets him off the hook for a little while. But he's obviously a manager under pressure, and the way he talks to the press now, the way he looks on the side of the field, he looks like a man under pressure. He's going on the offensive, and it's not really working for him, you know. And I've also got to look at the board. You know, they've come in, and who are these wonderful people? That when do we start questioning them? When do you start questioning the likes of Dave Brailsford, who one government minister said he should never be anywhere near any sports company in England? You've got Wilcox. You know, he's meant to be some guru on the football side of it. When are you going to start challenging those sort of people? These people get jobs and they can hire and fire managers and do whatever they want to do and get away with maybe not doing a particularly good job. We've got to start looking at those sort of people and start criticising them as well.
Man, pressure on both teams here, Manchester United and Tottenham.
Louis Saha sends Man United warning ahead of crunch Tottenham clash. The former Manchester United frontman has told his old club to watch out for an informed Dominic Solanke when they face Tottenham. Louis Saha has warned Manchester United they will need to be wary of a rejuvenated Dominic Solanke on Sunday. The Tottenham striker has endured an injury-hit start to his time in North London following his £55 million summer switch from Bournemouth, but opened his account for his new club in last weekend's win against Brentford. Solanke was on the scoresheet again in Thursday night's win over Qarabağ in the Europa League, and Saha believes the fit-again 27-year-old is the missing piece of the jigsaw for boss Hag and Postecoglou as he bids to shoot down United. He said, "I think Dom Solanke will prove to be a great signing for Tottenham. He's a player who is at the top of his game and his link-up play has really improved over the last couple of seasons. I think he's done really well. Technically, he's really good. He loves to score goals, and he is a player that, although he hadn't scored until this weekend, he was always in the right area. That gives me the confidence that Solanke will score a lot of goals for Tottenham because he's got quality players who will keep feeding him. The one issue that Spurs have had is someone applying the finishing touches to their games, because they create so many chances. They needed to add a deadly finisher because they will always give the opponent a chance to score, but in most games, they will create a lot more chances. Solanke can score the goals that Tottenham need to turn their domination of the ball and chance creation into 3 points. Spurs scored the fewest goals of their rivals last season following Kane's exit as they missed out on a Champions League spot. However, Saha believes Solanke is ready to step up to the plate and spearhead Tottenham's top 4 bid this season. I think that Dominic Solanke is the closest like-for-like player they could have signed to replace Harry Kane, he said. His link-up play is a massive plus to his game, and it's something that has improved so much over the last 2 seasons. He's very comfortable on the ball and he doesn't make bad choices or silly passes. Over the last few years watching his games, I thought that he was a very classy player. At Bournemouth, he created goals for himself and for his teammates. He would often be the player that started a move, and then he had the ability and the instinct to get into the right position within the box and finish it off. That is a rare talent, and that was something that Harry had in his locker. He was the master of it. The only number 9 I played with in my career who could do the same thing, score and create loads of goals, was Wayne Rooney. United and Spurs will be hoping to boost their top 4 hopes with victory today after slow starts to the campaign. Saha added both teams are looking for consistency. Both teams need confidence. Tottenham are a really difficult team to play against, so I think it will be an interesting game. I hope that Manchester United can come out on top, and I'm expecting it to be a very open contest with a lot of chances for both teams because both teams have some very talented players.